Hello, this is Sheshachalam from Retrograde, Mysore. So today we are discussing Vaani Dosha or Vaac Dosha. There are two different words, Vani and Vaac. Vani is the sound, the sweetness of the voice. And Vaac Dosha here does not very clearly directly suggest only the voice, but it is also suggesting that there is a dosha, a malefic influence on how you talk, the tone of your voice, whether you are sarcastic, whether you are aggressive, whether you are sweet, whether you are, accommodative, or you are blunt, or you don't agree, or there is a disagreement in the voice. All this can be found out by just a single sentence a person responds to you. This is clearly called as Vaac Dosha or Vani Dosha. So, planets associated with the voice are two planets. The first major planet is Moon for the voice. The planets associated with communication. So that is two planets. One is for the voice is Moon. The other one for the communication is Mercury. So these two planets are of major concern in a chart. Also, the second lord, the second house, the third lord, the third house are also of major concern. So when you are trying to ascertain from a chart as to what sort of a voice or what sort of communication or any problems in communications are there in a chart, you need to see these 6 points: Moon, Mercury, second lord, second house, third lord, third house. 6 points. So, usually, as per the yoga in many of the epics, it is associated with the Saturn's influence over Moon. So, does it mean that all those people who are having Moon Saturn combination are stammering, or having difficulty in speech, or their speech is blunt, dry, rude, or when Mars is associated? This is what is the definition, that Mars associated with Moon and Saturn. Nothing is referred to as whether it is the second house or the third house or the second lord or the third lord. No reference is there. Just directly, if I am going to say that Moon, Saturn, Mars will make a person sarcastic, that would not suffice, or it would not be justifiable to any astrologer to simply bluntly define like that. You need to go into the intricacies of the yoga. So, going into the intricacies of the yoga, you need to see who is this Saturn. See, the yoga is defined like Moon with Saturn gives rise to Vaani Dosha or Vaac Dosha. The lordship of Moon to that particular chart, the lordship of Saturn to that particular chart, and their combination in a particular house, where in case it is Vrishabha Rashi, that is Taurus, Moon and Saturn both very well placed, because Saturn is in its friend's house, good avastha, and Moon is exalted. So let us say Vrishabha Rashi is the third house from the sign of Meena, that is Pisces. So from Pisces ascendant, if you have the fifth lord, the lord of imagination, who is also the controller of the house of communication. Why? It is the third from the third house. So 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, 5. So the fifth house is the controller of the third house, Bhavat Bhava principle. So just taking this example, I will not put any, I will not associate any dosha with that particular combination of moon and Saturn in the third house or the third sign, when moon is exalted and Saturn is in its friend's house. I cannot simply just like that associate it with Vani Dosha. Again, if I put Mars, the second lord there, which gives Chandramangala Yoga, the second lord moving to the third house, second from the second, fantastic association for a great businessman with very good, uh, you know, mm, after sales marketing techniques. Ninth lord, Mars. I'm just giving you one example of one ascendant, Pisces. How can I tell that this person will be aggressive and sarcastic also? He will not be sarcastic, he will be positive, because for that particular ascendant of Pisces, the example given with Moon, Saturn, and Mars in the same house of Rishabha Rashi cannot give you this negative Vani dosha. So now let us go into the details. Sun is more egoistic. Sun is more self-respect and self-centered kind of a planet. So the discussions, the communication, all that which now when I tell about a planet, it is about a planet which is associated with moon in the second or the third house. So keep that in mind. So I will not be repeating this particular thing. So whenever I tell about a planet, it is already associated with moon in the second or the third house. So egoistic talk, pompous, proud talk. So again, there is no Vani dosha, though it is a natural malefic, but there is a little bit of peculiarity. What I'm trying to tell is, some people do not like egoistic people. They don't like people who are, self pride. People who are showing self pride. They don't like them. For them, that sort of behavior is a dosha. It's a malefic combination for them. So they will keep them away from their meetings and their groups. Moon singly associated in the second house, the person will be very talkative. So once again, people who don't like talkative people will always think that that's a dosha, that's a malefic. It is all how the majority thinks about you. That is when the dosha comes and stands and becomes more prominent. Mars, rough, rude, and aggressive talk, like a lawyer who is arguing in the court. So, because Mars is a logical planet, along with Moon, it becomes argumentative. Chandramangala Yoga in the second house. Mercury, very fluent, very fast, but if it is badly associated or if it is nicha or weak, then these people, they are so fast that you will not be able to make out what they are talking. So it will be like gibberish. Let us talk only about the positives. So if the planet is positive, like Venus is positive, a sweet voice, melodious. So there is no Vani dosha here. So Jupiter associated, you get give rise to it gives rise to what we call as Gajikesari Yoga in the second house. It is like a teacher, a preacher, an advisor. Nobody wants an advisor always. So that is what we keep telling people. We give suggestions that do not advise, keep silent. This is not the time for you to correct people. This is not the time to argue. So these are all because this is what is associated in those charts, and that is why when we do our consultations, we keep giving them references from the chart. Saturn, yes, very blunt, point blank. They don't want to discuss too much. They will just hit the sentence on the face, and they don't worry about the repercussions. Unemotional. So Moon, Saturn, second house, unemotional speech, which is a dosha. Nobody likes unemotional speech. Everybody wants that it has to be covered up, like the Western talk. that everything has to end up with win-win situations and happy moments. Saturn doesn't like all that. He is a realistic person. He will tell what is the situation. That is what he talks. He will not cover it up, thinking about tomorrow what will happen or what will happen next moment. Saturn is Saturn. Merciless. That's what we call Saturn. So when it is with Rahu, disoriented, too many things. You will leave what you are talking, you will go somewhere else. So that is also dosha. It's not that people only when they talk rude and they are accusing people, or they are loud and they are harsh and they are overpowering, only then the dosha is applicable. I will not agree to that, because dosha means that the kind of talk what the person is doing is unacceptable to that particular situation. And Ketu, it's a very, very difficult thing to explain Ketu, because he doesn't talk. He becomes mute. When it has to be, that you have to answer to a situation, you have to respond, Ketu will be silent. He is not bothered. He is not concerned about the situation or any repercussions. So these three fellows, Saturn, Rahu, and Ketu, in the second house along with Moon, will clearly constitute a dosha, because in most of the situations, these planets don't work well with the Vani dosha. So let us go to a normal theory that natural benefics with Moon, that is Moon with Mercury, Jupiter, or Venus, handleable. Moon with Mars, Moon with Sun, diplomatic. Moon with Saturn, Moon with Rahu, and Moon with Ketu, pessimistic, cynicism, realism, which realism is not bad, but nowadays nobody wants realism. So because everybody wants that, icing on the cake. They don't want to know what is in the cake. They want the icing. Icing is to be, the cover up. The cover up story. Saturn doesn't like cover ups. So you can segregate them into three parts. That Moon itself, along with the other three planets, we have covered four planets there: Moon, Mercury, Venus, and Jupiter. Then you have Sun and Mars. That is another set: Moon, Sun, Moon, Mars. Then you have the other three planets, which will make it totally 9. So the Vani Dosha, what has been explained till now, is nothing to do with retrograde planets. So when retrograde planets come into the act and when they come into the game, it is so difficult for one to understand. For example, I'll give you a very, very suitable example here, because I took Pisces as an ascendant. I will give you Chandramangala Yoga with Mars retrograde in Aries. Chandramangala Yoga, that is Moon, Mars in Aries, when Mars is retrograde and the ascendant is Jupiter's sign Pisces. You think that Mars will suddenly make you aggressive, sarcastic? No. He will be very composed. He will not even be anywhere close to aggressive. He'll be positive. Take your charts and give me a lot of feedback is required, because we as astrologer are not fully ripe. We also are learning every day. Every day is nothing but an hour, 2 hours of being a student. Every minute you have to be a student, but sometimes it is like we dedicate our time to learning. So please do not think that everybody is a master. Nobody is a master here. So take up your charts and please send me the responses, so that your comments will be so valuable that people who are joining this forum will be able to understand what sort of a combination will give what sort of a result. So it's a great option for many people who actually come into the forum. So yeah,
I want to add that Mangal Dosha, what they say, no, that is basically when Mars is in the eighth, aspecting the second and the third. That's
yeah,
what they don't like.
this Kuja dosha or Manglik dosha, Vani dosha. Vani dosha was the main reason why in India women with that sort of placement of Mars
Especially
in the Dvidvadasha Chatussaptashtamaha. Dvidvadasha 212, Chatushta 4, Saptama 7, Ashtama 8. Dvidvadasha Chatushta Ashtama Saptashtamaha. So Dvidvadasha 212. Why 12? Because from the 12 it will aspect the third house. 2, it's already sitting in the second house. 7th, in the house of marriage. 8th, from there it aspects the second and the third house. The 2, 12, 4, 7, 8, the fourth house. The fourth house, because it aspects the seventh house, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that is why they had put it there, because they were thinking about Manglik dosha for with regard to marriage. But here, the main reason of Mangal dosh or Manglik dosh earlier was because they did not want the girl to, make her statements, stand up for the rights, or talk about justice. Wherever she has got married, she has to be quiet there and be silent. This was the ideology behind finding the horoscope, taking the horoscope and trying to filter all those horoscopes without this placement of Mars. So many girls have not got married at all, only because their horoscopes were categorically rejected because of Manglik dosh. That is, Mars is either from moon or ascendant is in the second, 12th, fourth, seventh, or eighth position. One of the main reasons was Vani Dosha. That is, she will stand up to speak and ask for her rights, her position. Now
again,
you
there's a
people should
difference.
understand it is very important. She has to.
Again, there's a difference. If it is benefic planet for that lagna, so she will be justice.
Yeah, in most of the cases, Vani Dosha that does not define a character.
But if it is malefically influenced,
If it is malefically influenced, then yes, they will use it with very harsh, rude force, and sometimes in a cruel way, in a rude manner. But normally, Vani dosha does not get associated with the character of the person.
but mostly it doesn't allow them to be in a very good setup, family setup. With a lot of difficulty.
That is because the second and the third house represent Kutumba and Kutumbat Kutumbasthana. That is the Bhavat Bhava. Second and second from the second. So the Vani Dosha in particular is a very detailed subject to understand the voice, the modulation, the tone, the intention of a person when he speaks. So thank you very much for today's class.